Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joe Wolf from the HIZPRez project, and today we're here in Skullyville, Oklahoma. Well, Scullyville, which meaning in Choctaw is money, and of course I'm trying to be here to see if I can find some Scully, so maybe I can have some Scully. No, I'm kidding. But Skullyville is one of the great importance here in the Choctaw Nation in this area. This is part of where the Choctaws settled at right after the removal of the Trail of Tears. (1832, 1833). The Choctaw settled in this area during the removal. This part of the area, this would have been the Meshulatubby, where his party came along with him, all around from Memphis, traveled to Little Rock. Some came towards Fort Smith and settled in this area. And behind me, if you see in this area where my truck is at, this is where the land where they all settled in. And of course, where they settled this area, this is where they get their allotment. This is where they get their annuity, their money in this area. And also, not only the Choctaw just get their annuity or their allotment and their money here, Skullyville. In 1847, the Choctaw noticed that the Irish in Ireland was suffering some very devastating time of their potatoes. There was having some kind of famine going on in Ireland, and so in 1847 the Choctaws decided to come together within the council and decided to go ahead and put money together. And so all across wide of Choctaw Nation, from Dokesville to Armstrong Academy and a few other places, came together in different districts to gather up money. And the money they raised up was around $170+ which is equivalent today around $4,600 today. And that's quite a bit, back in those days. And they came up here, and they, of course, there is a gentleman here who was from New York. He was the ambassador for the Irish people. So he came here, accepted the money in this area at a council house, which I don't know where the council house used to be at. I know exact, they say somewhere near the cemetery, close side of the cemetery, but I don't know exact, but that's where the exchange happened in that area. So the money's been transferred to Ireland to help the Irish people for the potato famine. And I'm glad that the Choctaws did that, because today the Choctaws, still considered and being acknowledged in Ireland today. Of course, there's a feather commemorates the about the Choctaws and the Irish, how they exchanged in that time. And of course, it's the kinship, as you can say. And so in this area, this is where the Choctaws and the Irish exchange and helping. And of course, not only the Irish and the Choctaw exchange, but the Irish also was helping some of the other tribes as well during this time of this pandemic that happened last year. And I believe there was a Hopi, or the Navajos, and a few other tribes that's in the western part. So the Choctaws helped the Irish, so the Irish decided that in return not just only help the Choctaws, they helped the other tribes as well in the western parts. So I'm grateful for that, that still is carrying on, showing that, hey, even people on the other side of the world, they still see the need in our Native American culture here in the United States. So with all being said, right here in the cemetery, of course, it's our national cemetery. There's many loved ones passed on here. Of course, we have chiefs that's buried here. We have many other settlers that's buried here as well. Family, prominent Choctaws, that's all buried here. And the oldest one, I think we marked this around 1834, I believe. So Scullyville it's a very more importance for our Choctaw people. Of course, a lot of people comes up here to honor their ancestors. Some comes up here to even help clean. Some comes up here to do a lot of things, you know, to honor the Choctaws that came along the Trail of Tears, put flags up, a few little things. And I'm glad that they do this, you know. And of course, excuse me, the Choctaw put a monument right in the cemetery. We'll go there and let you read the monument, what it said about this cemetery. So, wind feels good today, and I'm glad it's a pretty day, because past weeks it's been raining a lot, you know, in Oklahoma, and feel like I'm either in Washington or in the tropics, because it's always raining everywhere. And you see here it's pretty much dry, but maybe last week or so it was wet, and I don't like to be walking in a wet, muddy area. So here's the monument right here. So it says Scullyville, Choctaw National Cemetery. The founding of Scullyville dates back to the year 1832, when the removal of the Choctaws to their new home was in full progress. The old cemetery has all the interest usually attached to these ancient places. Early on, our people used rocks or stones to mark their loved ones' grave sites, though most of the rocks and stones that were not engraved or marked in some ways have been removed. It is known that the hundreds of Indian people lie here in an unmarked graves. So I'm going to mark that Indian people would have been Choctaw people lie here in unmarked graves. The stones that are left with engraving dates back to the early 1830s. It is a peaceful spot where numerous trees cast their shade over the last resting place of many of our ancestors. May 2nd, 1998, Miko Chief Gregory E. Powell unveiled this monument to symbolize that the Scullyville Cemetery is the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma's national cemetery. So there you go about the monument of the Scullyville Choctaw National Cemetery. We honor and thank Chief Greg Powell, which is gone, but he erected this monument here to commemorate about the Choctaw people here. And of course, like it says, a lot of Choctaw that passed on in the early years, and some can't afford tombstones or anything, they just find sandstones. You know, sandstones usually runs around the river banks and stuff, so they grab those sandstones and bring it and mark their loved ones in that area. Sometimes they'll try to grave a little small initial or something that shows where their loved one's buried. Now, some possibly the gravestones possibly sunk in throughout the years. They're possibly in the grounds, we don't know, because throughout the years the ground can rise up in different erosion throughout the years, so it can be in it underneath the ground. So sometimes we carry sticks or different type of metals trying to find these stones. Sometimes we can find them, these stones here. So, but this is where, you know, many Choctaws, like I said, came along in this area. Of course, as they came here in Scullyville, many children went to different schools. Of course, there's Fort Coffee, which is just possibly about 5 miles north from Scullyville. Fort Coffee is actually a site for a military post in the early 1820s, 1830s. Of course, the post was there just for keeping away the western tribes, such as the Osage and the Kiowas and the Caddos. But they put that fort there, of course, along joining with Fort Gibson and Fort Smith and a few other places. Then later on, it fell into part, and then and throughout the years, and I think around 1830s, 1840s, they revised that into a boarding school for the Choctaw boys. And of course, it's in on private land. I haven't been on that site, which I would like to be on that site. Maybe we'll find a property owner. We'll go there one day. Of course, throughout the years, they shut down that school because of the Civil War that happened. So in that year, the school shut down and they reopened it again until it caught fire. So only thing is remnant is of its stones, few of the structures, a little bit that's not really visible. Is just what I've heard is that it's just a little structure there and here and there, but it's in the wooded area. Also, just a little ways from here, I would say maybe a couple miles from this area, there was another school, a seminary for girls called New Hope. New Hope Seminary was established around the 1840s. Of course, it went throughout the years until the late 1890s. It caught on fire. A small story of the New Hope School is that a little girl was about to go to bed until she smelled smoke. And of course, she looked outside. She seen on the other side of the barracks, I guess, or the other dormitory, you could say, seen something smoking. So she ran down, called all the girls and the teachers that say that other dormitory is on fire. So the teachers all went out there and rang the bell. Every student got up, and of course all the girls got out, and they tried to stop the fire much as they can with the well waters and a few other things, but it just went in blazed and it caught the whole school on fire. So the whole area caught on fire, and they can't really restrict it. So, but New Hope was used as a hospital for the Confederates in that time. So, but they used that. It was used as a school too, but the school shut down, like I said, around late 1890s due to the fire. So there was no fatalities happen in that fire, that's good. But the sad thing, I wish the school, wish there was still some remnants of the school, but they said there's a small foundation. But the person that I know of that works here in Spiro, his name is John Casey. He's the tribal member here, and he was telling me about the New Hope area. And of course, I believe it sits on his property, and you can still see small portions of it. So there's a lot of history here. And of course, we got the Walker Station. The Walker Station is just a little a ways from here. And of course, there's a spring water still going. His home site, Tandy Walker, was the Choctaw chief, and also he was the I believe a commander and a brigadier for the Choctaws and Chickasaws. I might be wrong or so. Anybody that's in the Civil War knows about Tandy Walker, correct me. I don't know if I forgot what I think it's Colonel. There you go, Colonel Tandy Walker. So his rank was Colonel. So he fought under Douglas Cooper, who was stationed in Fort Washita. But Douglas came around. Of course, you have Tandy Walker fighting along with the Confederates with the Choctaws and the Chickasaws. He also went to Hope, Arkansas, of course to Prairie du Chien, and of course a few other places in that area, Moscow, near Hope, Arkansas, or Prescott, Arkansas, and of course and you had a few other places in Arkansas that they fought in that area. So Tandy Walker, his home site's over there, probably just about a quarter of a mile, just not too far from this site. Of course, the Ainsworth family took over the home when he passed on. They took over. It was a dog trot home. It was really nice. Maybe I'll show you some pictures of it, of his home, and nothing left of it. Just a big tree where once his home was sitting at. Again, there's a spring, well, I think a spring still flowing today, and you can see it running through the streets, on the roads, and a marker placed there of the Walker Station, which is talks about the Butterfield that came along from Fort Smith, came along in this area to Scullyville, and again it went all the way south towards Culbert's Ferry. So it was a long route. Also, it followed the Fort Smith and the Boggy Depot Road, military road, of course, and also that was also an older military road, and also there was a Trail of Tears road in that time. So that's when they came on. You can still see the depressions right in front of Tandy Walker's home. And Tandy Walker's home, of course, is a big prominent for the Choctaws, and he was part Choctaw, and he came from Mississippi, and his whole family. And the Ainsworth as well, they're all part Choctaws as well, and they're all buried here in this cemetery. And of course, you see a lot of prominent Choctaws here that you can hear the name McKinney, Hartshorn, Walker, you name a few. And of course, you see in the papers in Mississippi the names that once was in Mississippi. They are here. You can see the names are familiar. Of course, there's a whole bunch here. Of course, the Ainsworth, as I say, and but this is Scullyville, and this is the cemetery. And of course, not just only the cemetery, but this once was the town. The town sit just not even quarter of a mile. It's just in this area. The town ceased around the late, well, I'd say the early 1900s, when Spiro started to rise up, just about 5 minutes from here. Spiro started to rise up, the railroad started coming through, and it killed down a little bit of Scullyville. So Scullyville kind of died out, but the community still, people still lived in this community, even though Scullyville is starting to die out. But today, only thing that the landmark of Scullyville that still keeps going is the cemetery and the marker about Walker Station. That's the only thing that still kind of commemorates the area of this historical site. Of course, there's another monument. We'll go over here soon. We can let you read. That talks about the Butterfield, talks about the, of course, the town site and the council house. I think so. I believe so. But we'll take a look at it and go from there, and then we'll see what other sites. Okay. So now we're in this vicinity, heading to this monument right up here. We're going to read about it, but this is, like I said, the community of Scullyville, the site of this area. From my understanding and what I've heard from a few people, and like I said, from John Casey, is that I believe the council house set right there in this little tree area. I believe that's where he said to be, where they used to exchange and use the council house, because there, that tree right here, see those stones, that's where they dug the foundation up and put these stones in the circular area of this tree. And they said this tree once where the council house stood. So if you think about it, seems to be right, because these are foundation stones where possibly the council house sit right in this area. And let y'all read this monument here. And it says, Scullyville was founded in 1832 while removal of Choctaws to what is now Oklahoma was in progress. The first Choctaw agency in the West was established here with Major F.W., which is Frank William Armstrong, as agent. The name Scully was derived from Choctaw word Scully, meaning a piece of money. It was here Choctaw received annuity payments, hence referred to the place as Manytown or Scullyville. There were 3 districts in the Choctaw Nation, with Scullyville being the capital of one. Catlin, the artist, stopped here for a time in 1834. When Chickasaws moved west in 1838, many landed from boats at Fort Coffee and went through Scullyville to new homes further west. The Seminoles also came this way going west. With the establishment of Butterfield, overland mail route between St. Louis and San Francisco in 1858, one of the stations was at Scullyville, operated by Tandy Walker. The center of the Choctaw culture and political life began to decline at the close of Civil War, and when old agency building was destroyed by fire in 1947, Scullyville became only a memory. And there you have it right there, a little proof of what happened in this area. So the old council house was burnt down in 1949. So I'm thinking this is where I'm believing the old council house set at. So I don't know if we'll be able to go to the old Tandy Walker house, because it might be kind of flooded. I don't know, I ain't gonna say flooded, but just wet. But here you go about the old town side of Scullyville. And of course you heard about the Butterfield and a few other things of that monument. So again, we may come back later on, tell more about it, but as of now we're heading back home, heading back to Durant and calling it a day. So it's been a long day. So like as again, thanks for watching. As we say in Choctaw, HIZPRez and Yoko Key, and we shall see you on the next on HIZPRez project.